Hey, welcome back to my third YouTube video. I said I was going to get stuck into a Torian recap, and it's something I wanted to do post-Torian anyway, and I started my YouTube channel. So I thought I'm just gonna mix the two. A recap, a bit of a vlog. It's more like even a diary entry, just my thoughts on everything, and to share a bit of my experience and the lead up to Torian and obviously how it went and everything like that. If you've followed my journey at all, you'll know that Torian didn't go to plan. First ever Torian, and let's start at the beginning. I never ever expected that I would ever make anything like that. When I say that I started CrossFit 2 years ago, that's as a sport. It's not like I just walked in off the street and had done nothing before. I competed, well, my first sport was swimming and then netball, and then I competed in strongman, Muay Thai, Ollie lifting, and then CrossFit has been my main one in the past 2 years. Anyway, so 2 years ago is when I sort of stepped into CrossFit programming. I never even wanted to compete back then. I did Frantic in 2021. That was my first ever CrossFit comp. I jumped in RX. I don't know why. And I thought that was me done. Like, I did one comp, I ticked it off the bucket list, I jumped in RX, and that was me done. Fast forward to this year's Open. Kieran and I had a chat going into the Open because Torian brought back the Masters individual competition at Torian this year. So they didn't have one last year. So we had a chat and we said, we'll sign up for it. Worst case, it's some experience and, whatever happens, happens. The way you qualify is your open score goes into a separate ladder. You sign up under Comp Corner, and the top 8 from whoever signs up in Masters of the world can qualify to go to Torian Pro and compete in Masters from all over the world. It's not just Oceania like the RX individuals is, which makes it a lot more daunting, but also pretty cool that you can say, I competed against the top in my age category of the world. We signed up not knowing, how it was going to go or anything like that. And I didn't have much faith in it being anything. I just thought this is going to be a cool experience to see sort of where I sit and see what my weaknesses are and what I need to work on in the future. Workout number 1 came and went, and after all the scores were logged and finished, I was sitting second. I was pretty blown away. It was the first time I think I really sat there and took a moment and was like, your hard work over the past year has all been worthwhile. This proves that, you do have what it takes. First workout, I think, really just lifted my belief in myself. And I do believe in myself. But when you're doing local comps, which I'd done a few of leading into the year, leading into the Open, and, as a nearly 40-year-old, and you go into these comps and you're competing against someone like Grace Walton, Georgia Otto, younger girls who, are throwing down at Torian against, some of the country's best athletes. When you're doing local comps against them, it can be quite hard to recognize your own efforts because you're at a very different place in your life. So after that first workout in the open, when I finished second, I was like, wow, okay, your training is paying off. All this hard work is paying off. Like, let's fucking give this a crack. So workout number 2 and 3 went quite well. We were like updating that ladder every single Monday and Tuesday, like, where are the scores? Where am I placed? And I ended up finishing 6th, which just filled me with a lot of pride. And it was hard to believe for a little while. I was like, fuck, like, yeah, all right, this is happening. I can do this. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to go to Torian. Right, we're going to Torian. Let's fucking do this. A big shout out has to go to Kieran, my training partner, because he's an RX individual and he had a goal to go to Torian. He went last year and he didn't make it this year. And that was hard for me to watch because I know that it's a bigger goal for him than it was for me. So I didn't quite believe I was ever going to get there. And it was very hard for me to watch him not achieve his goal and then also have that as now my goal. And he could have just stepped out of the gym and be like, I didn't make it this year, like I need to take a break. And, you know, he'd just got married last year, lots of things happening in his life. He pushed through the disappointment of not making it himself, and he helped get me in the best shape that I needed to for Torian. So I do need to just thank him for that, because it wouldn't have been easy. I appreciate him immensely for doing that. So then Torian prep started, and if I thought training had been intense in the past, it was about to get a whole lot different. So I'll walk you through a typical week of training. I don't really talk about it a lot because I don't want people to be like, whoa, like you did so much, like you sacrificed so much, blah, blah, blah. I sacrificed a hell of a lot, but every time I did, it was a choice I made. It was a choice I made toward the goal that I chose. Anyway, a typical Monday would be early morning clients, followed by session number 1 at around 7 a.m. Back to work, home at about lunchtime, eat, nap, housework, whatever, back at 3 p.m. for session number 2. Tuesday would be up at 3:30 for a 4 a.m. session, before work, clients, coaching, whatever. Home at about lunchtime, same thing. It'd be eat, sleep, repeat, back at 3 p.m. for session number 2. Wednesday was always like active recovery day. So that would be massage, going for a big long walk along the beach. And I always have a split shift on a Wednesday, so I work early and afternoon. Thursday would be that 4 a.m. session before work. Same, home at about lunchtime, eat, sleep, repeat, back in at 3 p.m. for session number 2. Same thing on a Friday, 4 a.m. session, coaching clients, anything else that needs to get done in the home life. I'm a solo parent, so and I run a business. So there's a lot that happens in around that. Sorry, Friday, back in at 3 p.m. for session number 2. Saturday, in at 7 a.m. for the gymnastics class I coach. Then I'd go into my own lifting, partner WOD, and whatever else needed to be done on the Saturday. And then Sunday is always a full rest day. So I was doing 2 sessions a day. Realistically, sometimes I'd be fitting in 3, sometimes 4 pieces in that afternoon session. So I'd say about 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for a long time for the lead up to Torian. But if I get down to a personal level, I touched briefly on, you know, I did sacrifice a lot. I don't have a big support system being a solo parent, and there were times right towards the end, the last probably 2 to 3 weeks, I think, there were points, you know, driving home where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's so hard. I'm so exhausted. Fleeting moments. They were fleeting thoughts. And I was exhausted. I was investing a lot of energy into my training. I didn't want to go into Torian leaving any stone unturned. So yeah, training, everything became around training for a little while. And I knew it wasn't a forever thing. So those sacrifices I was prepared to make in the short term. Like I'm ready for this to be done. I'm ready for a deload. I'm ready for Torian. I just want to go out there and have a crack and not feel so tired. And on the flip side, you know, there were times where I was fucking so pumped to go to training where I could feel everything was moving in the right direction and, you know, training felt good. I was feeling strong. Things were getting better. And a big part, I believe, of why I had such a good Torian prep and why I feel the way I do is changing again my nutrition, changing my attitude towards my nutrition and physically changing it and prioritizing it. One thing that people might not understand is probably the length I went to with my nutrition. I did a comp in January at RFX and I'd spoken to a couple of people just before the comp or at the comp, and a couple of my friends were like, wow, you're looking really shredded, like you look amazing. And I was offended. I was like, oh, like, what do you mean? Because I had, prior to that, put a lot of emphasis on my nutrition, on getting a little bit stronger and possibly trying to put on a bit more weight. The number on the scales doesn't matter to me, but if I want to get stronger, that usually means eating a bit more, putting on a bit more weight to try and get a bit stronger. And prior to sort of summer, that had been a big focus of mine. And then over summer, you know, the weather's a bit warmer. I'm at the beach a lot. I guess I'd let my nutrition slip a little bit. I just wasn't as focused on staying in a calorie surplus as I had been. And I've got a body type that as soon as I do that, you know, I obviously shred up a little bit, whatever. And yeah, a few of my friends were like, you're looking amazing, you're looking shredded. And I'm like, no. So for the past 6 months, I have worked really, really hard on maintaining a healthy relationship with my nutrition, because I do have a past that has been filled with different types of eating disorders, and I have a tendency to become quite obsessive. Anyway, so yeah, January, I went into building up into a calorie surplus, and initially I was like, let's play around here and just see, you know, what it's like eating up towards 2,800 calories, 3,000 calories. Didn't really, like, I didn't gain any weight. I didn't notice anything different. So I was like, all right, let's bump it up a bit more. And we went up towards like 3,233. And then I was like, let's just see what 3.5 calories looks like and feels like. And that was my goal for nearly the past 6 months. I was like, let's see if we can consistently try and hit 3,500 calories. Let me tell you, it wasn't bad. There were days where I was just over it. It's 3.5 calories for a female is a lot of food. And initially, like the first 3 or 4 months, it was amazing. Like my body responded to these extra calories. I was getting stronger. I had so much more energy to push in my sessions. Like there were no negatives, honestly. Like it was just a really great positive experience. After I'd spent 3 or 4 months in that calorie surplus, then it started to feel like a bit of a chore. Then it started to feel like, fuck, I have to like maintain this. Like there was a lot. So I was training twice a day, plus like my nutrition was pretty much like my focus. Everything had to happen around my nutrition. Because if you've ever trained at that level, you know, if you have a couple of days where it's out of line, out of whack, your training just starts to go like this. And sometimes if your training goes like that, then you mentally go like that. And it can all be like just this. The prep to Torian was a big focus on strength, as well as me just eating a fucking shitload, basically. To make sure that I had the strength to be competitive at Torian. So yeah, that was the lead up, that was the prep. And then the weekend before I flew out to Brisbane, I woke up Sunday morning with a sore throat, and I was like, nah, this is not happening. This is not happening. It's just a sore throat. It's fine. This is definitely not happening. Jumped on a plane by myself. Now, for those of you who don't know me, that single one thing on its own is fucking massive. Woke up Wednesday and I didn't know what to do. I was in Brisbane. I was ridiculously sick. There wasn't much I could do. So I went and found a chemist, had a chat with them, and they were like, we think you've got either laryngitis or a chest infection. We went and did the check-in Thursday afternoon. I obviously have never been to Torian as a spectator, so I had no idea what it looked like. I had no idea what to expect. And walking in just gave me the biggest buzz, especially like you walk in, you check in, and you get your little athlete pack, they give you your lanyard. That's fucking a cool feeling. And then we walk through out to what they call the community section, which is where everyone who's not an RX individual or an RX team, that's where they compete out in the community section. Let me tell you, it's fucking, to see the lanes, to see the barbells, to see the rig, to see the benches, to see the dumbbells, to see everything set up. It was electric, and no one was even really there yet. This was the check-in. And I was like, fuck, like I thought I was going to be nervous as hell, and something switched. And when I saw it all set up, I was like, I fucking want this. Woke up, I still wasn't feeling any better. Maybe a little bit better, if anything, but still not great. So got the crew together, roll up, they do your like event briefing. The first event I was actually really excited for. And then that event started. And I honestly just felt my world start crashing around me. Knowing you can do something, knowing all eyes were on you, it was the very first event. And then I got out there and those dumbbells felt like 50 kilos. And if Kieran's taught me anything in training, it's how to stay composed. It was very hard watching people go past me, watch them, get through their rounds, and here I am stuck on the fucking dumbbells. And there was a point in that workout when I was just overcome with emotion, and I had a little cry mid-workout, but then as I walked off, it all came out. And that took a lot of mental fortitude. I had a massive cry, and then my body reacted from what I'd just done physically I started vomiting and dry reaching. I couldn't stop coughing. It was just, there was a lot. Event number 2 was actually one I was looking forward to. It had a movement in it that had just been brought in, handstand pirouette walks. That workout also had wall-facing strict handstand push-ups, which are my arch nemesis, my biggest weakness. Went into event 2 in the afternoon at Torian, and it actually wasn't too bad. Like I wasn't feeling physically great, but it was a workout more of skill than of cardio. So there were lots of points through that workout where it was a little bit slower paced, which meant I wasn't struggling to breathe as much, and I could sort of just chip away. And in the end, I actually got a better score at Torian than I did in full health when I tested it the week and a half beforehand. So that was a little win for me coming out of, you know, event 1 that left me feeling so just... But to come back and be able to execute workout 2 exactly how we'd trained and get a better time than when I completed it in full health, that was, yeah, I was proud of that moment out of everything in Torian. That was a cool moment. Woke up Saturday morning, ready for day 2, and I was worse. Sorry, event 3, we'll call it event 3, was another one I was looking forward to. It was a 800 meter run into a max snatch, rest, and then 8 snatches into an 800 meter run. So we made a decision to scale back my opening snatch, went out on the 800 meter run, and I had nothing left in me. That second one was the hardest 800 meter run I've ever had to do. And as we hit the final turn, there was a girl, like, I don't know, probably 50 to 100 meters in front of me. And I just said to myself, this is like your one and only chance. Do not come in off that run last. So I fucking just legged it. And I didn't come in off the run last. So again, if anything, there were like tiny little moments where I just chose one thing, and knowing that would make me feel proud of what I did with what I could in that moment. And then I went, if there was, I don't know how there's further to go downhill, but I went there. I was gone. It was a mess. It was a mess. And Kieran and Eb were sort of standing there going, like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know, like, I just don't know what I can do. It's not about what I want to do. It's about what I physically can do. Like, I don't know how much more I can keep pushing my body when I know that every time I push it, it's making me worse. It's hard because I know that they were asking me, do you want to pull out, without asking me. And I knew that. And I didn't even want to make that call. I didn't want to be the one. I didn't want to be the one to say, yes, let's pull out, because that's not who I am. And that's not what I'd worked my ass off and sacrificed so much for in the lead up to that. I didn't want to make that call. But not only physically, mentally, to step out on the comp floor, to go out there and do something at a level that you know is not what you're capable of, that was so tough. Kieran ended up saying, look, if you want to make the call, that's fine, and we'll stick by you, and we'll stand by your decision not to do this last event or the last event on Saturday. He said, the only thing I want you to consider is if you don't do it and you pull out, which is perfectly okay, like you're not well, and you somehow make a miraculous recovery tonight, you won't be able to compete tomorrow. You won't be able to pop back in and be like, oh, hey guys, I'm feeling better, let me do Sunday's events. He's like, that's the only thing I want you to think about. And I was like, fuck. You know, like, fuck. With that decision in mind, we were like, YOLO. Saturday's last event was the event that I was fucking psyched about. If there was any event, it was that one. We actually tested it twice in training. Like, oh boy, I had never in my whole time of doing CrossFit spewed after a workout. I spewed after that retest. That event was Saturday afternoon. I spewed from that event. So knowing that I'd spent the whole day spewing at Torian anyway, I really did not know if that was one that I should do or could do. But we made the decision. First bike, smash. I was like, this is good. Get up on my toaster bar first. And they felt good. Toaster bar are my jam. So I'm like, all right, Kieran said if they feel good, let's go unbroken. Whoops. Missed the part where he said 12 and 8. So I did 20 unbroken, jumped on the sandbag. That was not a fun time. And then the second bike and the third bike just went. It's hard for me to process the fact that I felt that bad physically and I could still place 5th. Because then the question set in of what could I have achieved if I was feeling full health? If I was like I was a week ago when I was training, what could I have achieved? And that was hard. That was just as hard as the going out there and pushing when you know you couldn't do anything. That was just as hard as physically not being able to do anything. The question of what could have happened if you were physically in that condition, considering you can finish 5th in a workout, knowing that you're that sick. Like, yeah, that was tough. Yeah, I went straight home after my Saturday event, and I broke out in another fever Saturday night. So we made the decision. We went in and had to let the officials know that I withdrew. And that was one of the toughest moments. Yeah. As an athlete, as a person, like, that's not something that I don't quit. I'm not a quitter, you know, I'm not. And so that hurt. But yeah, Torian, it was certainly a wild fucking ride. A wild ride. A few questions came through. I opened it up on my Insta earlier. One of the questions was, what did I do to recover after each workout, particularly because I was so sick? So my recovery at Torian did not look like what a normal event would look like. But yeah, nutrition and sleep are like my two go-tos, and they just didn't look like they normally would. So it's hard to answer that one. The next one was, what was my favorite part? The workout number 2 with the handstand pirouette walk and the 10 wall facing handstand push-ups, and finishing that workout in a quicker time than I did at training in full health. I think that was my favorite part. I remember picking up the barbell. I think I got 2 overhead squats. I just dropped it and I turned around. I knew Kieran wasn't far. I just looked at him and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I nearly finished that workout. Yeah, and I had a smile on my face after that workout. I think that was my favorite part. What didn't live up to the hype? That's a hard one. I don't really know what exceeded my expectations, and what isn't talked about enough is the vibe of the outdoor events, the community events.
takeaway from next time, I'm probably going to quarantine 2 weeks out. My next big goal. I don't know if I want to say it out loud. I mean, I've said it to like maybe 1 or 2 people, but yeah, we might just keep that one as a surprise, and you guys can you know, keep watching the journey. So take this opportunity to thank everyone who has supported me over the last 6 months, particularly like all my Iron Body fam, everyone who bought supporter shirts. Like the support that you guys showed me was just huge, and I had so much gratitude as I headed over to Torian for everything that everyone had done to help me get there. It really, really meant a lot. So thank you all. And of course, thank you to my training partner for not, you know, throwing in the towel and pulling out and sticking with it for the last few months. I know it wasn't easy in the beginning, but as always, I do appreciate Kieran and the time that he puts in. Yeah, thanks for listening to my Torian recap, and it's a lot of talking, so if you don't make it to the end, it's whatever, but I love a chat. And if you have any more questions, drop them below, and like and subscribe. Other way around, subscribe and like. I don't know, one of these days the kids will tell me how to do it properly, and maybe I'll be good at this YouTube thing, but